Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. As a Mackenzie finishing, can we call it Donna Caicedo now? Is it official, or do we still have to wait a little bit before?
It already was, wasn't it? I mean, I think after this week, there's definitely no doubt whatsoever that is Caicedo time. It was just, I think I used the wrong word because when it went in, I wrote on Twitter, unbelievable. But it's not unbelievable at all, is it? It's like the most predictable thing in the world, really.
The funny thing is that this time he played terrible. I don't know. Did he touch a couple of balls before the goal?
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. The goal. It was difficult. He had to turn around, hit the corner. I mean, that was a hell of a goal. And yeah, it's simply unbelievable. And it was funny, Alistair, because after the match, obviously they interview Caicedo, big surprise, and they ask him, "Were you convinced? Do you think I'm gonna score at the last second?" And he said, "No, I didn't think about that. I actually wasn't thinking about I'm gonna score in the last second. I just saw the ball, thought about doing it, and yeah, everything worked fine."
One of the things I thought would be fun was to ask people on Twitter to describe Felipe Caicedo in one word. So I'll read some of them out. I mean, I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed. A lot of people have cheated here because they've just basically written several words but without a space between them to make it into one word. Like this, for example, extra time panther. I mean, that's not one word. But we've got what? Clutch, beast, dependable, amore, matador, demigod, unbelievable, savior, mito, Jesus, love. It's great. Miracle, crack. So anyway, we got a really good response to that, and it was quite good fun reading it. But you're right. I mean, that was one of the things. So I did a post-match video today for the Patreon users on the kind of full-time reaction. And it said exactly what you just said. I didn't think he played well at all up until that point. He was just kind of basically not involved. And It is just so strange, this phenomenon of Caicedo kind of essentially not playing very well, but then having these absolutely fundamental key moments. Although we should also say, I mean, Joaquin Correa, what an assist that was to set that up, though. At that point of the game, amazing.
Again, we're going to talk about the match in details. We will have to talk about the COVID situation, this tampone issue that Gazzetta is writing on. So
Scandal!
Stay with us till the end because there are plenty of things to talk about. But Alistair, as we were talking about Caicedo, we have to say pretty much the same thing of Correa. Correa did pretty much nothing for 90 minutes. He had two chances he created, and the second one was the goal of Caicedo. So I can understand why Inzaghi wants to play him, because when he turns on, he's pretty much unstoppable. But, you know, in 90 minutes, you wish to see him doing something more than only two chances. This was a little bit the history of the match, right? Lazio didn't create that many chances, probably played better than Juventus, had more ball possession than Juventus, but I don't remember Szczesny doing unbelievable saves.
No, and it was a strange match because I've very rarely seen Juventus kind of take on that role of being so comfortable with being the classic away team, I suppose, in the sense that they were happy once they took the lead to just defend, get numbers behind the ball inside their own half and try and launch counterattacks. And to be fair to them, they looked more dangerous than Lazio in a lot of the first half with that strategy, because obviously they hit the post. We got outnumbered a couple of times. Luis Felipe had to make a couple of excellent kind of saving tackles. I think that there was a lot of sterile possession from Lazio, especially in the second half. When Juventus were pressing them in midfield, I think that Alberto kind of struggled to do much. Sergei struggled to get involved as much as he would have liked. And I think that Juventus kind of tactically got it almost spot on until the very end, to be honest, to frustrate Lazio. But yeah, with Correa, the thing is, he had one of those games where he does a lot of things right, but then in the crucial moments he doesn't. So whether it's the final shot or the final pass, whatever the final move is, I made this comparison to Keita Balde before, where he kind of has this amazing ability to kind of get things going and get things into the right position, and then not quite have the right decision. But then, in the key moment, right at the end there, he couldn't afford to make a mistake or get that wrong. And to set up a goal in that way was really impressive.
Yes, Alistair, I think we can divide the match into half, right? First 45 minutes, we saw a different Lazio. In the second half, with the substitution in particular, things change. I think we have to talk about Fares, but overall, I think today we notice how important Leva is for this team, because too often, Lazio was out of position when Juventus was counter-attacking. I thought Cataldi probably didn't train too much with the team and was often outpaced and didn't provide that coverage that Leva usually gave to the defense. And we could see it today, because how often Juventus was 1 against 1, 3 against 3 with the Lazio defender. That's that's a big problem, especially when you're playing against big teams that have Morata, Cristiano Ronaldo, and so on.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to see him select Cataldi from the start for a game like this, to be honest, because we spoke about that in the last podcast, and the fact that he's got this ability to have, I suppose, a more technically capable player in that position, or someone who passes the ball better, but he's not the most defensive-minded player in the world. So it was a bit strange to me to see him in such a big game then be picked in that role. What I thought was quite interesting was when Akpa came on, for him to then be played in that role, because the more I saw it, the more I thought, well, that actually really suits him, because he's already shown he has this ability to sweep up really well, and he's almost a magnet for the ball. He's really good at reading the game and intercepting balls and making tackles. Obviously got booked within about 10 seconds of coming on today, which wasn't great again. But I do wonder if that was a suggestion that we might see him in that role as well, which would be player number 4 in that position this season. But I do wonder if Inzaghi looks at that.
Number 5, Leva, Escalante, Parolo, obviously, Cataldi, and
yeah.
I thought he played very well when he came in. I believe that Inzaghi tried to do a little bit of rotation there. Akpa Pro played pretty much all the matches. Parolo, same thing. So I thought maybe he tried Cataldi to put someone fresher in, especially considering that Leva didn't have 90 minutes. Luis Alberto didn't have 90 minutes. Radu, obviously, who started again after the Inter match, didn't have 90 minutes. So I think he wanted to bring some fresh players in the pitch to start with. Let's move to Fares, because a lot of fans didn't appreciate his performance. I thought he started the season better than we are seeing now. At least before, he was defending better. Today, we can say that the Juventus goal started from a very soft tackle from him. I don't know if you agree with me. So, yeah, I was hoping to see him improve. It looks to me a little bit like Lazzari last year, right? He started well, then he dropped for 4 or 5 matches. And then we said, okay, it's time to pick up, because otherwise he's not the signing we're looking for. He started to play better. Let's hope that Fares does the same, right?
Yeah, I think it was another disappointing game from him. I really expected better at both ends. I think before we've talked about the fact that he's not giving enough in attacking areas. His crossing again was very poor today. But you're right, yeah, for the goal, he was, not just for the goal. I think he struggles defensively a bit too much for me. So yeah, I don't know. It was quite hard to defend him today. I don't think that there was an awful lot to be happy about. I guess my opinion hasn't really changed that much. I think that he's struggling a bit, but he will need a bit of time. Vedat Murici, same old story. I don't think we want to necessarily repeat everything we've already said about him. I don't think anything's really changed. It was the same old thing with him as well. I think he still doesn't look like he's really connecting properly with the team. There was that great move early in the game where Radu's crossed to the back post to Milinkovic. I think he probably could have gone for goal himself, but it was a very selfless and intelligent decision to head it across goal towards Murici, but he didn't seem to completely read it properly, or he just didn't react fast enough to get there. But I felt like he should have been closer to knocking that in. And so, yeah, the wait goes on for a Murici goal, or really, I guess, a performance that makes us sit up and take notice of him.
Yes, but I think here there's a different problem. If you sign Murici, you know that you need to provide him assist in the box, right? He's very good with a header. And again, this was another match where we never put the ball in the box. Never. You have Murici, you have to, play his strength. And what is his strength? His header. And still, well, we talked about Fares, but on the other side as well, Maruzic didn't put any ball in the box. So, it's difficult for a player like Murici to show his best if we're not providing assists. It's a little bit like Ciro Immobile and Luis Alberto, right? Luis Alberto knows exactly how to make Ciro Immobile score, because the movement Ciro's doing is the perfect, it's what Luis Alberto does best. So before talking about Murici, we still have to, provide him assist before.
Yeah, and I actually think it'd be really interesting to see what kind of a difference there would be if, between Murici playing with Correa, which is what we've seen the last couple of times, and Murici playing alongside Immobile, because I feel like theoretically Immobile would be a more suitable strike partner for him in the sense that he is better than Correa is at that movement. That creates space for whoever he's playing alongside. I mean, that for me is one of the things that Ciro is best at, is his ability to take defenders away and kind of get into spaces that are unguarded and basically confuse defenses in that way. At the moment, I think it's a bit too easy for opposition defenses with Correa and Murici, because they seem to be doing quite similar things, which I talked about in the last game. They're kind of hovering on the edge of the box, dropping deep and trying to link up with the midfield, and neither of them is really getting into those kind of centre forward penalty box positions that often. And like you say, the crosses aren't really coming in, which Murici would need to feed off. So yeah, again, it's a disappointing, I think, performance from him. But yeah, like you say, I think perhaps he's not quite worked out the team, but the team hasn't quite worked out him yet either.
Yep. Were you surprised to see Radu starting?
Yeah. Were you?
Absolutely. Well, Inzaghi in the press conference yesterday said that Radu was back, but I didn't expect him seeing starting. That's very strange, especially against Juventus. I can understand rotation and things like that, but seeing starting was a little bit surprising. But he played well. Obviously, he didn't have 90 minutes. He was subbed in the second half. And again, Hood came in and he played quite well. I'm impressed, I would say, from Hood performance. But it was good to see Radu back, because he's one of the leader of the team. And especially in this situation, I thought it was important to have him back, even though it was a huge risk, because I think he trained just a couple of days with the rest of the team.
At this rate, you're going to have a Hoot 14 shirt on for the next podcast, I think. I think you're right. I think with Radu as well, because he's so injury prone and he's only just come back, I think it's almost a bit of a gamble to throw him in. But I think it goes to show the kind of value of his experience or how Inzaghi views the value of his experience. I think the other thing we saw is the value of his kind of technical ability and what he brings in terms of the construction of play. And he kind of showed again, the fact that he's able to put dangerous crosses into the box, like I just mentioned with the Milinkovic-Savic one, and kind of link up with the midfield. And Acerbi's been pretty good at doing that as well when he's had the chance. But I think that's our strongest defence, is the one we started with today. And it was good to see them all together again because, there's something we spoke about last season quite a lot, was that back three has changed so often. And then finally, Inzaghi settled on Felipe, Acerbi, Radu. And we had that run during the great winning run where they could actually consistently play together. So hopefully we can get those three back together again regularly.
Shall we talk a little bit about Inzaghi? I mean, when he moved Marusic, when he was taking the throw in and said no, the other side.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. And the celebration as well was cool to see. My neighbor went knocking after and said if I was fine, and I said yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, I mean, how many points is Inzaghi giving to this team? Because we talk a lot about the players, but we didn't talk enough, I think, about Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah, and I think perhaps because the attention's been kind of focused elsewhere a lot of the time, whether it's because of like the massive absences for the Bruges game or whether it's the COVID scandal or whatever it is, that's such a big story, and it almost kind of takes away from the fact that, well, actually, Inzaghi is all constantly, spinning plates, trying to work out how to put a team on the pitch that could play cohesively together, and at the same time is trying to still embed the new signings who've come in the summer so late. And he's had a lot to deal with this season already. And considering, I think he's done a really good job. I mean, how many games is that unbeaten now? Maybe 4 or 5. I need to have a look. But he's managed to turn around the form after a difficult start, and I think he's done really well considering how often he's had to chop and change at this team, and that he's without Immobile and Alberto for so long, and those players are so key to this team that he's really done well to kind of rally the troops to get these results.
8 matches without defeat, because we lost against Atalanta. Since then, we
Was
played.
it that long? Why?
Well, I'm considering even Champions League, obviously.
Yeah.
9 September. 30th of September, sorry. Obviously. And he said that...
No, there's some Sampdoria games last.
We lost against Sampdoria, sorry.
Yeah.
I read it the other way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I thought Sampdoria we won. Yeah.
Oh no.
I tend to forget to cancel that match, right?
We can all forgive you for forgetting that match.
Before going and talk about the tampone scandal, how you want to call it, do you think that one on Cristiano Ronaldo was handball on the free kick of Cataldi? Did you see it again?
The first replay I saw, I thought no, because it seemed to take a kind of knock off Rabiot first, but then I saw a different angle and it looked like it definitely was a handball. So I'm still not sure. I've still not seen a kind of conclusive angle about it, whether it cleanly strikes his hand, because his arm's at a kind of angle off his body, isn't it? An unnatural angle.
Yeah, and it's wide.
So, but I've not. So, but I don't know if the ball. The question is then, I suppose, if the ball strikes the arm directly or if it takes a deflection first. But I'm not sure.
I thought it went there directly, and I'm really astonished that the referee didn't go and check it, because for me it was quite clear. But anyway, Lazio find an equalizer. But I thought it very strange that the ref didn't go and check that. Shall we start talking about what happened in the last week and a little bit of Caicedo Sport? Do you want to start and recap everything? You have 10 minutes.
Where were we at the last podcast? Well, okay. I mean, essentially, where we've got to was, well, where we were last time was that obviously that we had this system of tests where there had been positive, negative, positive, which then resulted in an investigation into how Lazio have been handling this. But now there's been an extra spanner thrown in the works in that the Avellino test center that Lazio have been using. The same tests, negative tests that came from that, were sent to a Roman test center that came out with a different result. Now, I know you're going to have your Gazzetta rant. This has been a cause of great controversy here in Italy because Gazzetta obviously is run by Urbano Cairo, the Torino president who hates Lotito. Lotito said it himself in an interview in La Repubblica, which is a Roman newspaper, that he beat him once. I think it was in an election race at the Italian FA or something like that. And so he hates me, and he always publishes bad things about me in his paper, and he's a loser. And look, Torino were bottom of the league, and it's quite funny. But Lotito also tried to make an analogy between the virus and bacteria in women's vaginas,
No, stop.
which is just not something you do. I mean, so the problems we've got are manifold because there's an investigation going on. They're trying to look at irregularities of how Lazio have handled this. The way I look at it is that it's fairly simple, really, in that we don't actually know if Lazio are in trouble, if they've done anything wrong, until these investigations have finished. But Gazette every day are trying to publish their own version of events, which says that Lazio are and they're going to get relegated. But still, the last thing we need is Lotito to come out in public and start talking about women's private parts.
I mean, we can talk about the Lotito, but we have to say something. Every time he talks,
just don't.
He's terrible. Don't do it. Don't talk, please. Send someone. The other thing I was thinking is what happened to Diaconale, because during the lockdown he was talking every 25 minutes. Now he's
which wasn't much better, was it?
No, it was even worse. But at least now, talk once. I think he went to the hospital in July, right? Maybe he's not feeling well anymore. But yeah, find a replacement, guys, because it's terrible. One thing I'm not sure of what you said. I don't think it was the same test was sent to the Rome laboratory. The Lazio doctor said it was a fast tampone, the one that are not 100% reliable, and then they do another test and send it to the Avellino, who was negative. The ASL, that is the, how can you say it? The
local health authority.
Yeah, the NHS in England basically said, okay, as there are these strange results, please don't make Strakosha, Leva, and Immobile play, put it aside in isolation. So basically, even though Immobile, Correa, and Leva, Strakosha are not negative for the Lazio laboratory, they weren't called up for the match today. And yesterday was interesting because the Bologna doctor spoke to a Lazio radio and said, look, I know Puccini, I think it's called the Lazio doctor. He's a big expert of sports medicine, and I believe he's very well known, and he done everything perfect. Obviously, this isn't in the Gazzetta Sport, because Gazzetta decide to start a war with Lazio, and so they cannot take the positive side. But yeah, it's quite strange. What I think, Alistair, is, I don't know if you agree, is again, they have to centralize things. Okay, this is the only place where we can take tests, okay? And so all the results are the same. Because if I take a test in Milan, then you take it in Rome, then they could be different because these tamponi are different. They are the fast one, they are the monoculous one, the most deep things. And so everything the result can be different. And again, said this, as you were saying, it's responsibility of that medical center, not of the team, if the results are different, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, this is essentially the thing that that I can't get past really is that Lazio are trying to be branded as having kind of cheated the system here yet, but I've not seen or read anything that suggests that's happened. I mean, as far as I'm aware, the way they've behaved and the way they've dealt with their players and the selection process for matches has been dependent on the results of the test that they're getting. Obviously, there's been a massive inconsistency between the tests depending on who they're getting the results from, but they can only really react to the results they have. Now, one of the things the investigations have done is that they've collected all the test results that Lazio have received for all the players that have been done by both labs, the one for UEFA and the one for Serie A. And so they're going to have to look through that and then make sure that there are those consistencies. The stuff about Lazio getting relegated to Serie B, we already explained last time a little bit, is essentially just a result of the fact that it is written in the laws of the game that if the protocol, the health protocol around coronavirus is seriously breached, that is the maximum punishment. But again, you know, there's no evidence yet that Lazio have done anything that would require the maximum punishment, let alone actually have done necessarily anything wrong. There's been a bit of, I mean, it's just, this is why I've decided not to really comment on the whole thing that much on social media or anything, because it's so much speculation and he said, she said at the moment. Like you say, there are comments coming from experts and professionals. They've had independent pathologists and virology experts and people speak about this who've essentially kind of defended Lazio, but that's not getting picked up by other media outlets. And so for me, it's just kind of like, well, we just need to wait for these investigations to be complete and then actually see what they say about it. But that's not the way it's being dealt with, and it's getting blown out of all proportion. I mean, a friend just before we start recording sent me a screenshot from some footy website I've never heard of on Instagram saying, oh, Lazio are about to get relegated to Serie B. The problem with this is that because Gazzetta are running this show and they're the ones pushing this narrative, Gazzetta, unfortunately, still has quite a good standing internationally and is seen as being quite a good newspaper because people internationally aren't necessarily aware of the fact that it's still used as just for petty political or individual squabbles. But all you need to do is look at the front page today. It's a joke. It's actually a bit of an embarrassment to journalism. Their front page headline is, "It was true." As in, they're actually so surprised that the thing they reported yesterday might have been right, that is their top story for a newspaper. I mean, that, like I said on Twitter, you know, if that's surprising you so much that you might have got something right, that it's your headline, it's a bit of a hint that you're doing something seriously wrong. I don't know how, you know, these journalists can look themselves in the eye and think that they've done a good job. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and again, as you were saying, there's a lot of talking and things, but no proof at the moment, no proof at all. And again, now the chief editor of Gazzetta Sport spoke to an Italian radio and saying that Immobile now it's a risk for individual responsibility, because if he didn't auto-isolate, then he's responsible not only as a player but as a Italian citizen. I mean, this is going too far, and I mean, there are rumors that he's a Roma fan, and the journalist who is writing this article has picture on Instagram with Totti shirt. So you know, I would have picked a more impartial journalist to run such important thing on Lazio. But you know, this is Gazzetta dello Sport, unfortunately, in 2020. A disgrace. So this is the situation. We're gonna see how things go on. It looks like that the Italian Football Federation have started as well to dig and find what is true, what happened really. So I think we're gonna know very, very soon. The thing is, yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the lab in Avellino, because Avellino is, you know, it's in Campania, isn't it? Is it not?
Definitely.
So, I mean, Lazio have been using this lab, and Lotito said that was because he didn't want to put more burden on the Roman institutions that were struggling already at the time. when they set this up. But I think the Avellino lab, because of these inconsistencies, is also being investigated by like the legal Italian legal system and the Guardia di Finanza. I'm not sure what you'd call that in English, the Guardia di Finanza. I mean, the finance police. So yeah, but so the lab is individually being investigated now as well, I believe.
Yeah, well, if someone cheated or did something wrong, it's that, not Lazio's team. So we have to see what's going on. But even a sport advocate, I think Friday said that the maximum that Lazio is risking, it's a fee, you know, relegation. It's out of consideration. So, but Gazzetta dello Sport decided that it's not going to get in that way. So we're going to see what happens. I'm just curious to see if they're going to do like Zarate's situation. Do you remember, Alasdair, that in May, Gazzetta dello Sport attacked Lotito for the Zarate situation? There were this video on an Italian channel saying that Lotito paid Zarate and didn't declare all the salary of Zarate, and so he was, you know, at risk. Well, it results that they did a procedure, obviously, and it was shown that it was completely false, and Gazzetta dello Sport didn't write a single word. So, you know, it could end that way as well.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what you can do as a Lazio fan to help the situation right now, the answer is don't buy Gazzetta dello Sport, don't give any money to Urbano Cairo, and let everybody know about what ridiculous conflict of interest is going on here, because it's disgrace, to be honest. I think it's so clear. It's such a clear kind of agenda that they've got that it's just they lose so much credibility from this.
And just to give you another little side of Gazzetta dello Sport, today in the article of the match, they said that Caicedo scored in the Supercoppa final. I mean, if you have to do something, and you should be sport journalist working for the Gazzetta dello Sport, that should be the #1 sport journalist in Italian, you cannot get these things wrong. You know, they said Caicedo scored the last second in the Supercoppa final. I thought it was Cataldi on a free kick, but you know, yeah, they corrected, by the way, if you go and check now. But you know, this is the level.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, it's you know, I guess what I was going to say, to leave it on a somber note, but I don't think it is really. I mean, I think everyone just needs to kind of stay calm on this, because we don't know. The answer is we don't know. So look, there is still a chance Lazio have been doing something seriously wrong. But if that is the case, it's not because Gazzetta are saying it. It's because of something the investigations will come out with. You know. So I think we just have to do our best to try and not get swept up in this and just see what happens. But the problem is that requires patience, which is something that has been seriously lacking around this story.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because, you know, the thing that annoys me more is that when Ciro Immobile won the Golden Boot, he didn't find the first page of Gazzetta. And now with these things, it's 4 days in a row that Lazio is in the cover of Gazzetta dello Sport. So, you know, this is disappointing. You should put Ciro Immobile when he's winning the Scarpa d'Oro, the Golden Boot. Not in this.
That didn't even get like a picture. That was just like a tiny note on the side. I mean, it's almost, Vittorio, you know, call me a cynic, but it's almost like there's a connection between Milan losing their first game of the season and then deciding to change the story to Lazio instead of Zlatan all the time. Before that, Zlatan had been on the front page for 3 out of the last 4 days. It's like a Zlatan fan magazine most of the time, and then as soon as they lose a game, it becomes a Lazio scandal. Surprise, surprise.
And after the Champions League match against Zenit, Lazio wasn't in the homepage, the top page, but it was Torino winning in Serie A match on Wednesday. You know, this is the level of Gazzetta dello Sport. Simply embarrassing. Anyway, we gave too much space to Gazzetta dello Sport. They don't deserve it. So I think, Alasdair, we can wrap it up here. Do you have a stats to close? Don't quote Caicedo, because that's too easy.
I don't know. No. Well, no, I did actually hope to bring a stat with me today because I went on Lazio page, but Lazio page weren't tweeting anything today, and if they're not tweeting anything, then I'm completely lost. So yeah, I think it's just Caicedo, isn't it? Caicedo,
Yeah.
three late goals in a week, and apparently he scored more late goals than any other player since the start of last season. Goals after the 90th minute, that is. So, but I think we already knew that. It's not. Yeah.
5. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. As I said last week, and I will repeat it again, in extra time, for me, Caicedo is most dangerous than Messi, Ronaldo altogether.
Absolutely. All he needs is one chance. That's all he needs.
Yeah. Okay, thank you again, Alistair Mackenzie, and thanks again to everybody for your support. We have 2 new patrons this week. We really appreciate your support, your help. If you want to subscribe, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. You get our live reaction, video post-match reaction, and sometimes we do a little bit more. We had the preview of Juventus on Saturday and things like that. So thanks for your support. For everybody else, you can follow us on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, and even on Alexa. We should be there. So please listen and review our podcast, and we're going to talk again next week. Bye, everybody.